My daughter was burned, my wife was unreachable, and my mother-in-law was screaming at me over the phone to get home now. I pretended the signal was breaking up and hung up on her. In my last life, I bankrupted myself for my daughter's treatment. When she grew anxious about her scars, I took out $1 million in high-interest loans for her plastic surgery. I divorced my wife so the debt collectors wouldn't come after them, signing everything over to her. One night, after a late shift, I went to visit my daughter. I found her and my wife curled up in another man's arms, sleeping peacefully. And when I saw that man's face, a face that was practically identical to my daughter's, I finally understood. I had been the fool, the provider for 18 long years. I demanded to know why she'd do this to me. My wife told me she only married me to give her daughter a complete family. Now that their real family was finally reunited, she told me to just let them be. I told the man to pay back the $1 million I'd borrowed for the girl. To protect him, my wife and the girl I had raised turned on me, their words turning to fists. Pay it back. Why? So she's not your blood, big deal. Mia called you dad for 10 years. Don't you think you owe her that much? If you can't pay the money, maybe you should just die. You're ugly and broke and useless. You don't deserve to be my father. Just die. The two people I'd spent a decade protecting shoved me off the balcony. I died on impact. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my daughter played with fire and burned her own life down. 01-inch Ethan, where the hell are you? Mia is dying. My mother-in-law's frantic voice shrieked through the phone. I was still lost in the fog of my own death, the pain and regret so thick I could barely hear her. What? That damn kid snuck downstairs to play with matches while I wasn't looking. Her face is ruined. She won't stop screaming. And Chloe, that girl is useless. The second she walks out the door, she might as well be dead. Her phone just goes straight to voicemail. As her tirade continued, the reality washed over me. I was back. 1 year in the past. This was the day Mia burned herself, the day Chloe was nowhere to be found, the day my mother-in-law called me in a panic. What followed was a nightmare. I begged for money, sold our house, and drained our savings to pay for Mia's treatment. Then, I took out over $1 million in personal loans to send her to the best cosmetic surgeons in the country. Chloe told me she was getting calls from debt collectors, that she was terrified they'd show up at the door. To give her peace of mind while she cared for Mia, I agreed to a divorce. I took on all the debt. She took all the assets. While I was working myself to death to pay it all back, Chloe introduced Mia to her real father, Julian Vance. For the 9 years we were married, Chloe's heart had only ever belonged to her college sweetheart. It didn't matter that he'd abandoned her, that he treated her like a temporary amusement with no intention of ever being responsible for her or their child. She was still hopelessly devoted to him. And me? I was just the guy she'd carefully selected to be the stable, reliable fool who would raise another man's kid. My only purpose was to make money to support them. In her fantasy, Julian was the unattainable, aloof executive she was waiting for. She believed one day he'd wake up and realize she was his one true love. I was just the devoted side character, destined to give her everything and ask for nothing in return. After I found them out, they were afraid I'd cause a scene and ruin Julian's future as the son-in-law of a wealthy family. So, when my back was turned, they pushed me off a balcony. This time, I'm going to make that adulterer and those two heartless monsters pay a price they can't even imagine. I covered the phone's receiver with my hand, feigning a bad connection. Mom, what was that? The director is walking over. I have to go. Just call Chloe. I hung up immediately and switched my phone to airplane mode. My mother-in-law had money saved up, but I was willing to bet she'd rather watch Mia suffer than spend a single dime of her own. She'd just keep calling me and Chloe, her curses growing louder with every failed attempt. 02, I offered Dave a cigarette. Dave, you went to Stanford, right? Did you ever know a guy named Julian Vance? Other than knowing he was a Stanford grad who had married into a fortune, I knew next to nothing about the man. No kidding, we weren't just classmates. We were from the same hometown. The guy was always smooth, looked the part, you know. Later, in the restroom, I ran into Chris. Ethan, you should take some vacation time after this project wraps. You can't earn all the money in the world. Go spend some time with your wife and kid. Chris's wife was Chloe's childhood friend. She's the one who introduced us. Our families had always been close. Seeing the hesitant look on his face, I suggested we grab a few beers after work. Chris just chuckled. On the $800 a month she gives you for an allowance? Can you even afford it? He was right, I couldn't. That's why I was always taking on side gigs, running myself into the ground. But that was over. My salary of nearly $400,000 a year was more than enough to live comfortably. I led Dave and Chris to the same upscale bar Chloe always frequented. Sure enough, I spotted them in a dim corner. Just before 11, Julian wrapped his arm around Chloe's waist and, with practiced ease, led her across the street and into the hotel. After memorizing their room number, I went back to the bar. Guys, I need your help. I think my wife's in trouble. Someone might have taken her. Chris's eyes widened in understanding before he gave me a firm nod. He already knew. He'd known about Chloe and Julian all along. The hotel's soundproofing was mediocre. We could hear Chloe's unrestrained cries from the hallway. My two colleagues shifted uncomfortably, clearing their throats and pretending they heard nothing. I knew what they were thinking, that I was a pathetic fool for bringing an audience to witness my own wife's infidelity. But this was the fastest, most effective way to get my assets back. My pride was a small price to pay to ensure Chloe never got her hands on my money to save her and another man's daughter. The moment I knocked, the sound from inside stopped. Who is it? Room service. Go away. I knocked again, harder this time. What the hell is your problem? Julian yanked the door open a crack, and I kicked it with all my strength. The door flew inward, sending him stumbling back into the room. Chloe, forgetting she was naked, scrambled to his side. Julian, are you okay? You're both about to have a problem, I said. A flash of panic crossed Chloe's face, but she quickly composed herself. Ethan, what are you doing here? I was drunk, I didn't. You can't just attack people. That's assault. 03, so it was okay for her to sleep with another man because she was drunk? But I catch them in the act, and I'm not allowed to touch or love her. She acted like my slightest touch was a violation. Yet she screamed with pleasure under this man. I'd work until I collapsed from exhaustion, and she wouldn't even bother to send text. But her lover gets knocked by a door, and she's so concerned she doesn't even think to cover herself. She never valued the people who were good to her. She only ever chased the men who treated her like she was disposable. Pathetic. Chloe demanded I apologize to Julian, threatening to divorce me if I didn't. I just laughed coldly. Did she really think I was the same man who treasured her, who couldn't bear the thought of losing her? Right now, nothing sounded better than a divorce. Chris snorted. Maybe you should put some clothes on first. Chloe finally noticed the two other men standing in the doorway. She shrieked and dove back under the covers. Julian struggled to his feet and tried to offer me a cigarette. Hey man, let's just talk this out. Name your price. Whatever you want. He thought he could buy me off? This gold digger who married into money had the nerve to look down on me. My failure was not keeping my own wife in check. But a scumbag like him, who feasted at one table while eyeing another, disgusted me even more. I punched him square in the face. Your money is worthless to me. I just want to see you in jail. I started shoving him towards the door. Chloe's voice was sharp. Ethan, stop it. If you make a scene, I'm divorcing you. Fine by me. I roar back. Where did you get the confidence to think I'd still want her after this? Her eyes immediately filled with tears. You yelled at me? Don't you love me anymore? She had the audacity to talk about love. A person like her, with no self-respect and no gratitude, deserved to die alone and forgotten. She betrays me, and she's the one who gets to feel wronged. Did she really think I was her eternally devoted second choice? I'm not that pathetic. Even if she got on her knees and begged me now, I wouldn't take her back. Terrified that his wealthy wife would find out about his affair, Julian looked ready to kneel himself. Just don't call the cops, man. Anything you want, I'll do it. That was exactly what I was waiting to hear. Chloe couldn't stand to see her precious Julian humiliated. She wrapped the bedsheet around herself and tried to hit me. If you call the cops, we're done. I get the daughter, and you leave with nothing. You'll never see Mia again as long as you live. How stupid did she think I was? After seeing Julian in person, did she really think I couldn't see the truth about who Mia's father was? At this point, I'd be happy if I never saw Mia again. She was living proof of my shame, a symbol of the 8 years I spent in blissful ignorance. Chris couldn't take it anymore. He tried to reason with her. Chloe, how can you not see how good Ethan is to you? He gives you everything you want, treats you like a queen. How could you do this? Where are you going to find another guy who makes over $400K a year but lives on $800 a month? Chloe sneered. You call him a good man? He's ugly and has no ambition. All he does is work overtime and play video games. He's a terrible cook and a slob around the house. And he's rude to my mother. Even though I knew she looked down on me, I never realized I was completely worthless in her eyes. The more I did, the more I was criticized. But she, who did nothing, was apparently flawless. Let's see how well Julian takes care of her. Let's see if he loves her unconditionally, worships the ground she walks on, and hands over his entire paycheck like I did. In that case, let's get a divorce. I already have the papers drawn up. I pulled 2 documents from my jacket. I handed one to Chloe and one to Julian. Chloe's was a divorce settlement, stipulating that she would leave the marriage with nothing. She would get custody of the child. I would get the house and the car. Julian's was a property transfer agreement. It stated that he would purchase my house and car from me for the sum of $850,000. It finally dawned on Chloe. I had known about them all along. This wasn't a spontaneous discovery. It was a planned ambush. After reading the agreement, Chloe erupted. You have no conscience. You get everything. How are my daughter and I supposed to live? I'm not signing this. If you want a divorce, you're the one who leaves with nothing. Julian lost it too. Why the hell should I have to buy your house and car? Who wants your used crap? Dave, who had been silent until now, chimed in. You had no problem taking his used woman. What's wrong with his house and car? It's all been used by someone else, right? Julian shot a nervous glance at his old classmate and fell silent. Chloe wouldn't give up on the assets. I get the daughter, and I get the property. If you want a divorce, you walk away with nothing. And you'll pay me $5,000 a month in child support. Don't think you can screw me over just because I did something wrong. The law protects women and children. Even if we go to court, you're the one who's going to get cleaned out. After years of walking all over me, Chloe had come to believe that as long as she had Mia, I would cave to any unreasonable demand. Dave, filled with sympathy for me, fired back at her. The law protects women and children, not cheaters and adulterers. Ethan earned almost every penny you have. You're the one who had the affair. What gives you the right to demand he leave with nothing? Chloe was a coward at heart, only brave when she was yelling at me. Faced with Dave's righteous anger, she quieted down immediately. Julian, desperate to keep things from escalating, signed the document. Seeing him sign, Chloe knew she had no choice but to do the same. We signed. Can you go now? Not a chance. I needed the money now. As soon as Chloe turned her phone on, she'd get the call from her mother. I had to drain their accounts before that happened. In my last life, when I rushed Mia to the hospital, Chloe was unreachable. I only had $1,000 on me and had to frantically call everyone I knew to borrow money for the deposit. This time, Chloe was going to know exactly what that desperation felt like. Julian only had a few $100,000 available. He started making calls, trying to borrow the rest. Even so, he was still $50,000 short. Chloe tried to use her own card to help him, but I snatched it from her hand. You're going to use my money to pay his bill? Let him figure it out. With no one left to call, Julian finally took off his watch and handed it over to cover the rest. As I was leaving, Chloe shot me one last threat. You'd better give me $7,000 a month for living expenses. Otherwise, you can forget about ever seeing your daughter again. Fine by me. I never wanted to see that ungrateful, heartless little monster again. Looking at her just felt dirty. After we left, my colleagues asked me why I sold the house and car to Julian. The housing market is at its peak right now. You probably could have gotten a better price. The market was about to tank. In another year, the cash I had would be enough to buy a much nicer place in a better neighborhood. I sold everything to Julian for 2 reasons. First, I wanted to cut all ties with Chloe and her daughter. Second, I wanted to drive a wedge between him and Chloe. She was so obsessed with his powerful CEO persona, wasn't she? It was time for her to experience his tyranny firsthand. I had barely parted ways with my colleagues when my mother-in-law called again. Ethan, you worthless bum, why aren't you back yet? Mia is in agony. Get your ass home and take her to the hospital. Just as I thought. She wouldn't spend her own money. For the past few hours, that little monster had been suffering. A cruel smile touched my lips. Chloe and I have signed a divorce agreement. Mia is with her. You'll have to talk to Chloe about it. My mother-in-law exploded. Have you worked yourself stupid? What nonsense are you talking about? Get back here and look after your child. It's late. Chloe's going to skin you alive when she finds out you're not home. My mother-in-law was a cold, volatile woman. She and Chloe had never been close, and she showed zero affection for Mia. My own mother had looked after Mia for the first 3 years of her life. It was only after she started preschool and didn't need round-the-clock care that my mother-in-law offered to help. Chloe couldn't stand living with my mom, so she insisted her own mother move in, and she made me pay her mother $8,000 a month in babysitting fees. For 5 years, my mother-in-law had done nothing but collect a check and live like a queen. Starting today, her lucky streak was over. In my last life, Chloe was so furious that her mother had neglected Mia that she smashed a vase over her head, giving her a wound that needed 18 stitches. This time, Chloe's rage would likely be even more intense. I'd have to keep an eye on the home security feed. This was going to be good. A few minutes later, Chloe and Julian rushed out of the hotel. Chloe was crying the whole way. Ethan is such a bastard. Instead of coming home to his daughter after work, he comes looking for me. If anything happens to Mia, I'll never forgive him. And my mom, that old hag, she can't even watch one kid properly. All she cares about is money. If anything happens to Mia, I'll kill her. Thank God I have you. I don't know what I'd do without you. Then, Julian's phone rang. His expression changed. My wife wants me home. Now, I have to go. You'll have to go to the hospital by yourself. Chloe was stunned. She couldn't believe Julian would abandon them at a time like this. She grabbed onto his arm, refusing to let go. Mia is your daughter, Julian. You can't just walk away from her. All these years, you've never once acted like a father. She needs you now more than ever. How can you leave? Besides, burns are the hardest to treat. It's going to cost a fortune. I don't have a dime right now. How am I supposed to pay for her treatment? Julian impatiently shook her off. My wife must have heard something. I have to go home and smooth things over. It had taken Julian 10 years to earn the approval of his wife's family. He was on the verge of being promoted to vice president. He couldn't let it all fall apart now. Chloe stumbled and fell to the pavement, but she wrapped her arms around his leg. Julian, please don't go. Mia and I need you. All these years. Julian had no patience for her pleas. He kicked her away and got in his car. Watching Chloe lying on the ground, wailing like a helpless child, a surge of vengeful satisfaction washed over me. Now, she finally knew what it felt like to be abandoned. And this was only the beginning. When she was forced to watch Mia writhing in pain in a hospital bed, with no money to help her, the real agony would set in. Only when a person hits rock bottom do they finally realize who was truly good to them. My mother-in-law's calls kept coming, one after another. Chloe rushed home. An hour later, my phone rang. It was her. Your precious daughter is burned. She needs a lot of money for treatment. I need you to transfer me that $850,000. Now that I had the money, I was done pretending. I cut right through her lie. Isn't she your love child with Julian Vance? Go ask him for the money. Her voice was laced with panic. What are you talking about? That's crazy. Mia is your daughter. I was wrong about what happened today, okay, but Mia is seriously hurt. Please just send the money. Ethan, I'm begging you, send the money. Mia has passed out from the pain several times already. If she doesn't get treatment soon, she's going to die. Please, I'm begging you. She really is your child. Please save her. It was the first time Chloe had ever pleaded with me like this. When I remained silent, she broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. It used to be that a single frown from her would break my heart. Now, hearing her cry so hard she could barely breathe, all I felt was a cold, satisfying pleasure. There is no way in hell I'm spending my money to save a child you had with another man. You have two options: sell the house or go find Julian. Chloe still refused to admit Mia was Julian's daughter, screaming that I was heartless and cruel for abandoning my own child. I had no interest in listening to her hysterics. I blocked her number. If I didn't love her, she couldn't hurt me. Later, she had Mia call me, try to guilt me into helping. Daddy, it hurts so much. Please help me. Aren't I your special little princess? Why haven't you come to see me? Daddy, why don't you want me anymore? Daddy. I had raised Mia for 8 years. Hearing her gut-wrenching sobs, my heart ached despite myself. But then I remembered the cold, hateful look on her face as she pushed me off the balcony in my last life, and my resolve hardened. I'm not your dad. Your biological father's name is Julian Vance. He's a VP at Phone Corporation. Tell your mom to take you to him. He'll get you the best doctors and the best private room. Remembering Julian's warning, Chloe didn't dare go to his office. And she certainly didn't dare show up at his home with Mia. She couldn't borrow a cent from friends or colleagues, leaving her only one option, her mother. This is your fault. If you had been watching her, she wouldn't have gotten burned. You have to pay for this. I know you have $20,000 saved up. Give it to me now. I'll pay you back when I can. Her mother refused. No money. Then sell the house and the car. Why should I have to pay for it? If we sell the house and car, where will we live? How will we get around? Besides, they've already been sold to someone else. I can't sell them twice. Not my problem. I'm leaving. Get out of my way. You're not going anywhere. You let my daughter get seriously hurt, and you think you could just walk away? No chance. Give me the money. The two of them started fighting, a screaming match that turned physical. Her mother, old and frail, was no match for Chloe and ended up covered in bruises. But the greedy old woman would rather die than give up her bank card password. Chloe's only option was to sell the house. She had just listed it with a realtor when Julian showed up. My wife found out I borrowed money from friends. She's suspicious. I need to sell your house and car immediately to pay back the $850,000. Otherwise, she's going to find out about us. I've already found a buyer. You just need to go with him and sign the papers. The first words out of his mouth weren't about Mia's injuries or offering Chloe any comfort. He wasn't there to help. He was there to take away the only thing she had left. This was not how she had imagined this would go. When had he become so selfish and calculating? If you take everything, what happens to Mia? We don't have any money for her medical bills, and the plastic surgery will cost a fortune. You're a vice president. How can you not have that kind of money? Is this your way of getting rid of us? How can you be so cruel? I've been with you all these years, without any complaints. How can you abandon me when I need you the most? Julian was exasperated by her outburst, but he couldn't afford for her to make a scene now. He tried to placate her. Just sell the house to help me out of this jam. Once things calm down, I'll buy you a new one. We've been through so much together. Don't you trust me? He tried to sweet-talk her for a while, but Chloe wasn't buying it. His repeated willingness to sacrifice her and their daughter had planted a seed of doubt. She was afraid of ending up with nothing. Julian's patience wore thin. He reminded her that he had paid for the property, that the house and car were legally his now. He was just taking back what belonged to him. You'd better cooperate with me, Chloe, or else. The threat in his eyes was unmistakable. Tears streamed down Chloe's face. I've given you 11 years of my life, and this is how you treat me. What gives you the right? That's my house and my car. I don't agree. No one is selling them. Julian roared. Then you come up with the $850,000. The ferocity in his voice stunned Chloe into silence. She answered meekly, I don't have it. You'll have to get it from Ethan. It was then that Julian finally understood. We've been played. Ethan set us up. He knew about Mia getting burned all along. He deliberately forced us to sign those contracts and took all our cash. And I bet he was the one who had Dave tip off my wife. They both cursed me, calling me a manipulative snake. When they were done, Chloe asked Julian what they were going to do now. What do you think we're going to do? He snapped. Sell the house and car to get the money. You'll have to take out loans for Mia's medical bills. Chloe said nothing. Julian tried to soften his tone. We've made it through so much over the years. I'm about to become president of the company. You're not going to drag me down now, are you? Once I secure my position, I'll buy you anything you want. You've been with me for so long and gave me a child. I'll never treat you unfairly. But his empty promises no longer worked. You're trying to cut us loose, aren't you? Any one of your watches is worth tens of thousands. You own multiple properties. How can you not have this kind of money? Julian's patience finally ran out. He pointed a finger in her face and screamed, Why do you have to be so damn suspicious? How many times do I have to tell you? It's just a temporary cash flow problem. Chloe stared at him for a moment, then straightened her back and screamed right back. Who do you think you're kidding? None of your suits cost less than $1,000. None of your watches are under $10,000. You have money for luxury goods, but not to treat your own daughter. I see what this is. You're trying to dump us. You heartless bastard. I watched with rapt attention as their argument escalated from shouting to shoving. then to scratching and clawing. So much for undying love. It was all just a transaction. We're done. I'm through with you and that money pit of a daughter. Julian spat the words and stormed out of the house. Standing on the porch was his wealthy wife, Victoria Phone. Victoria, W, what are you doing here? Julian's legs almost gave out from under him. If she found out about the affair, about the illegitimate child, the Phone family would throw him out on the street. Victoria's one unforgivable rule was infidelity. Their prenup was ironclad. If he cheated, the family had the right to reclaim every asset they had ever given him. Julian prayed the walls were thick, that she hadn't heard anything. As long as she hadn't heard it with her own ears, he could still salvage this. He didn't know that I'd sent Victoria a link to the home's security camera feed hours ago. She had seen and heard everything, clear as day. Victoria's lips curled into a mocking smile. If I didn't come myself, how would I ever find out you were keeping a mistress behind my back? With an 8-year-old child, no less. You did a marvelous job of hiding it all these years. Not even a whisper. Julian dropped to his knees. Honey, listen, I can explain. She and I. Don't bother. I have eyes and ears. I understand everything perfectly. Victoria clapped her hands, and 2 tall, imposing bodyguards stepped forward. Ms. Phone. She gave a slight wave of her hand. Clear out the house. Repossess the car. Yes, Ms. Phone. Chloe started to run after Julian, but froze when she saw Victoria on the porch. When she heard Victoria's order to clear the house, she couldn't stay silent. This house belongs to my husband. You have no right to take it. Get out of my house right now, or I'll call the police for trespassing. In Victoria's presence, Chloe was utterly intimidated. Even her threats came out as a whisper, her eyes fixed on the floor. Victoria looked Chloe up and down with disdain, then gestured dismissively. One of the bodyguards produced the contract Julian had signed. Your husband? So what? Julian Vance bought this property from your husband for $850,000. As his legal spouse, I have every right to dispose of our shared marital assets. At that moment, Julian and Chloe finally understood the purpose of the 2 contracts I had made them sign. It wasn't just to turn them against each other. It was to hand Victoria the perfect weapon. As long as she didn't relent, Julian would be left with nothing. He wouldn't just lose his career. He'd lose his entire life. Chloe, however, was still fixated on her house. She looked desperately at Julian. Julian, we can't sell the house. Where will we live? Julian, say something. 11 Julian could barely save himself. He wasn't about to speak up for Chloe. He didn't even dare to look at her, terrified of making Victoria angrier. Hand over the deed, the bodyguard said, then pack your things and leave. Chloe stared at Julian in disbelief. Julian, where are you sending us? My mother is sick in bed, and Mia. Even now, she still held out hope that he would defend her. She figured that since Victoria already knew everything, there was no longer any need for secrecy. The house was in her name, and the contract was with Julian. If they both refused, Victoria couldn't legally take the house. Julian, having reached the absolute limit of his patience with Chloe's ignorance, slapped her hard across the face. Stop wasting time. Get out. The murderous look in his eyes terrified Chloe, but she couldn't bear to simply hand over the house. Her only remaining option was her mother. Mom, they're trying to steal the house. If they take it, we'll be homeless. You have to go out there and stop them. You're old. They won't dare touch you. Her mother refused to do it for free. She demanded Chloe give her the 4-leaf clover bracelet she was wearing. It was a birthday present from me, worth over $4,000. Chloe hated her mother's greed, but she saw no other way to save her house. Here, Chloe ripped the bracelet off and threw it in her mother's face. The old woman, satisfied, got out of bed. You act tough, but you're useless. When it comes to a real fight, you need an expert. If they lay a hand on me, I'll sue them into bankruptcy. Limping heavily, the old woman marched out of the room with a sense of purpose. Chloe peeked nervously from behind the door. Her mother stood in front of the bodyguards. This is my daughter's house. No one is kicking her out. Or else I'll. Before she could finish her threat, one of the bodyguards grabbed her in a pressure hold and forced her to the ground. Where did this old hag come from, making a scene in front of our boss? The old woman, already covered in bruises, howled in pain. Murder! Help me, they're killing me. Victoria frowned slightly. The bodyguard immediately gagged her and dragged her outside. Her usual tactic of causing a public scene had failed spectacularly. Chloe finally understood that she couldn't save the house. Defeated, she fell to her knees in front of Victoria. "Miss Phone, please give my daughter and me a chance to survive. If you can find it in your heart to save my daughter, I swear we will disappear. We will never bother you or your man again." Victoria laughed. "My man, you think you're worthy of competing for him? You like Julian Vance so much? Fine. He's all yours." Like a dog, Julian crawled at Victoria's feet, begging, "No, honey, please. I only love you. I'll never see them again. Please, forgive me this one time." Victoria didn't even glance at him. 12, my mother-in-law, nursing her injuries, scurried back to her hometown. Chloe tried to find me in my office, but was thrown out by security. With no other options, she sold all her jewelry and designer bags to pay for Mia's initial $20,000 hospital deposit. Victoria threw Julian out of the company and their home, seizing everything she had ever given him. In an instant, Julian went from a wealthy executive to a homeless man on the street. He blamed Chloe for his downfall, directing all his rage at her. "This is all your fault. You ruined my life. Why are you so pathetic? We both had families, but you just couldn't leave me alone, could you? Have you no shame? We broke up years ago. Why did you have to secretly have my child? Do you love me that much? Enough to die for me?" He beat her until she was black and blue, her pleas for mercy falling on deaf ears. He dragged her out to the street. Chloe had no idea what he was planning, but she was terrified for her daughter, alone in the hospital. She begged him to let her go. All she wanted now was to be by her daughter's side. She had given up on him ever helping them. No matter how much she pleaded, Julian remained silent. Then, a luxury car came speeding down the road. Julian shoved Chloe directly into its path. The driver couldn't brake in time. Chloe was thrown through the air. The driver, realizing it was an insurance scam, but in a hurry, tossed a wad of cash out the window. "Are we good?" Julian picked up the money and nodded. He played this game a dozen more times that night, using Chloe as bait and collecting a substantial amount of cash. Chloe was like a rag doll, thrown into traffic again and again. As Julian was about to call a night, a massive semi-truck came barreling down the highway. He looked at Chloe, crumpled and bloody on the asphalt, then calmly picked her up and threw her under its wheels. The truck, weighing dozens of tons, rolled over her body, leaving nothing behind but a smear of blood and tissue that couldn't be scraped off the pavement. With a masterful performance of grief, Julian collected a $1.5 million life insurance payout. He didn't get to spend a penny of it. The police were at his door before the check cleared. I had followed them all night, recording every moment on my phone, including the final, fatal push. The full, unedited video was now in the hands of the police. Julian Vance would face the full penalty of the law. On the night Chloe died, Mia disappeared from the hospital. No one knew where she had gone. I checked all the security footage from the area and saw she was led away by a young woman. Later, I saw that same woman by Victoria Feng's side. I knew Victoria was not a compassionate person. She would never save her rival's child out of the kindness of her heart. The only explanation was that she needed something from Mia, something only Mia could provide. I eventually found out that Victoria's own son had leukemia. He needed a bone marrow transplant. He needed Mia. By then, I was remarried. I had a son of my own. I no longer cared what happened to Mia.